Would anyone like to come up for a story this morning? Hi, Catherine. I hear you saw me put down the blanket. Did you enjoy your fish this morning? Yes. Well, I have a feeling that you're going to know this story, even though I haven't told it here before, but you would have heard it, I'm sure, at school. But it's a great story, and it's one of those big, long stories, so I'm doing the condensed version, the smaller version of it. But it begins in the land that we know as the Holy Land, the land where Jesus lived and taught people about God. But this story happened, at least 1,000 years before Jesus was even born. It's a really old story. And at that time, this part of the land was called Canaan. Have you heard of Canaan?
When they took over it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And this is a story about a young man named Joseph and his father Jacob. And they lived in Canaan. And Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. Now, we're told that's not really a good thing to do with children, but that was the case in this story. And the reason that was a problem was because Joseph had 11 brothers. 11 brothers. And out of all the brothers, Jacob liked Joseph the best. And that made the other brothers mad. And they didn't like Joseph very much. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Jacob liked Joseph so much that he gave him a beautiful coat. That none of the other brothers had. And so instead of being a little bit mad, they were a lot mad. And as a result, they picked on Joseph. But the problem was, Joseph wasn't always really nice to his brothers, because Joseph had dreams. He had really big, wild dreams that he remembered, and he would tell his brothers. And one of them was that he was a bundle of wheat. Joseph was a bundle of wheat in the dream. And in the dream, the brothers were also bundles of wheat, 11 of them. But when they saw Joseph, they bowed before him like he was a king. Well, you can imagine how the brothers felt when Joseph told them that dream. But then he told another dream. He told a dream about the sun and the moon and 11 stars, a star for each of the brothers. And even the sun and the moon and all of the stars bowed down before Joseph as if he was a king. Well, that not only made the brothers mad, it made Jacob mad too, because he figured Joseph was saying that he had to bow down to his son as well. Anyway, all of this meant that the brothers were getting more and more angry, and they decided they wanted to get rid of Joseph. In fact, some of them thought they should kill him. That's how mad they were. So one day when Joseph was out in the field alone, the brothers all snuck up on him, and some were planning to kill him. But some of the others felt that wasn't right, that no, we don't want to do that, we just want him to learn a lesson, we want to get rid of him. And just as they were trying to figure out what to do, this very rough-looking trader came along. He was an Ishmaelite. He was from a different place. And he said, I'll buy him and make him a slave. And the brothers thought, well, that's a good idea. So they took his coat and they sent Joseph off in chains with the trader. So the brothers thought, what are we going to tell our father? So they got the coat all dirty and they went home to Jacob and they told their father that Joseph had been killed by a wild animal. And Joseph cried, or Jacob cried and cried and cried because his favorite son was gone. So this trader took Joseph a long way away. In fact, out of the land of Canaan, across a river, a big river called the Nile, to a land called Egypt. Do you know about Egypt?
My mom used to work there.
And there he sold Joseph to a family to be their slave. But Joseph was still having dreams, and what would happen is other people would have dreams, like the people that owned him, and he could tell them what they meant. And he was usually right. And the word spread that he could help people understand their dreams. And he started to become popular. And in fact, he got so popular that one day the Pharaoh, like the king of Egypt, heard about Joseph and asked to see him because he was having very strange dreams and he wanted to know if Joseph could help him with them. So Joseph arrived and the Pharaoh told him this dream. And it started this way. I was wandering along the banks of the river when 7 fat cows came out of the Nile. And right behind those fine, healthy animals came 7 other cows that were skinny and vile. Well, in the dream, the thin cows ate the fat cows, which I thought would do them good. But it didn't make them fatter like such a monster supper should. The thin cows were as thin as they had ever been. And Pharaoh said, this dream has got me baffled. Hey, Joseph, what does it mean? Well, Joseph thought and thought and thought, and finally he said, he wasn't sure, but he wanted to go away and pray, because he thought that God could help him understand what this dream was about. So he did that. And then he came back to Pharaoh the next day and he said, I now know what your dream is about. For 7 years, there's going to be really big crops. The food is going to grow like you've never seen it before. And then, for 7 years after that, nothing is going to grow. There won't be any food. So what you have to do, Pharaoh, is you have to store all that extra food so that you have something to eat in those next 7 years. Well, Pharaoh was so pleased that he said, I will do that, and Joseph, I'm going to put you in charge of that. And Joseph became the second most important person in all of Egypt. And so for 7 years, there were these amazing crops, and Joseph kept all the grain in bags and put it into barns so that they would have food to eat for those other 7 years. Well, back in Canaan, all these years later, the same thing happened, except they hadn't saved any food, and they were starving. They were all starving. And Jacob said to his sons, "I've heard that there's someone in Egypt who might be able to help us by giving us some food. So I want all of you to go to Egypt and see if you can get some help." And so the 11 brothers headed off across the Nile and met Joseph. I wonder how Joseph felt when he saw his brothers.
I don't know what happened.
You sort of know what happens. Yeah. I wonder how the brothers felt when they saw that it was their brother that was so powerful in Egypt.
I know that too. They didn't even know that it was him.
They didn't even know it was him, no. I wonder what happened next.
That's easy to say. They went to Egypt. They asked their brother for grain. Then they discovered that he really is their brother.
Yeah. And Joseph, was he mean to them?
Actually, he was the nicest person probably there.
He was the nicest person there. Yeah. It seems that Joseph forgave them.
But now he gets a better spot in life.
He ended up with a better spot in life. You like that? So, we're going to sing a song called How Deep the Peace, and it's a song about the power of forgiveness.